They met at a party, a night filled with laughter, music, and the promise of new beginnings. John, charming and witty, swept Sarah off her feet with his effortless charisma and infectious smile. His eyes held a depth that captivated her, drawing her into a world she had only dreamed of.
I promise you a world of happiness, a life filled with joy and endless adventures.
And for a while he delivered on that promise. Their days were filled with laughter, their nights with tender moments. Their love story was like a fairy tale, romantic dinners, stolen kisses under the moonlight, whispered promises under the starlit sky, each moment more magical than the last. Sarah felt truly alive, cherished, adored. She believed she had found her forever.
Will you marry me? He asked, his voice filled with hope and love.
John proposed on a secluded beach, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the waves crashing gently against the shore, creating a symphony of nature's beauty. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes as she whispered, overwhelmed with emotion.
Yes, her heart soared with joy.
Their wedding was a joyous occasion, a celebration of love and commitment. Surrounded by loved ones, Sarah and John embarked on their journey as husband and wife, their hearts intertwined. Their hearts overflowing with love and hope for a bright future together, they walked hand in hand, ready to face whatever life had in store for them. The first year of their marriage was bliss. John and Sarah were inseparable, sharing dreams and laughter. They were the picture-perfect couple, always seen holding hands and whispering sweet nothings to each other. Their friends often commented on how they seemed to be made for each other, but slowly, subtly, things began to change. John became increasingly irritable. The man who once laughed off minor inconveniences now seemed to be on edge all the time. His patience wore thin, and the smallest things would set him off. Small things seemed to set him off. A misplaced item, a forgotten errand, or even a simple question could trigger an outburst. Sarah found herself walking on eggshells, trying to avoid anything that might upset him.
Why can't you do anything right? His voice would echo through the house, leaving Sarah feeling small and inadequate.
He would snap at Sarah for minor mistakes. The loving words that once flowed so easily between them were now replaced with harsh criticisms and accusations. His words, once laced with affection, were now sharp and cutting. The warmth in his eyes had been replaced with a cold, hard stare. Now carried a sharp edge. The man who once made her feel cherished now made her feel like a burden. Sarah brushed it off as work stress, convincing herself that it was just a rough patch. She told herself that every marriage had its ups and downs, and this was just one of those times, telling herself it was just a phase. She clung to the hope that things would get better, that the man she married would return to her.
It's just a phase, right? She would ask herself, seeking reassurance in her own words.
One evening, during a heated argument, the tension reached a boiling point. The air was thick with unspoken words and unresolved issues. John slammed his fist on the table, making Sarah flinch. The sound echoed through the room, a stark reminder of how far they had drifted from their once happy beginnings.
I'm sorry, it's just been a stressful day. His voice softened, and for a moment Sarah saw a glimpse of the man she fell in love with.
He apologized profusely, his eyes filled with regret. He blamed his outburst on a stressful day at work, promising that it wouldn't happen again. Blaming his outburst on a stressful day. He spoke of deadlines and demanding bosses, painting a picture of a man pushed to his limits. Sarah wanted to believe him. She longed for the days when their love was uncomplicated and pure. She clung to the memory of the man she fell in love with, the man who made her feel like the most important person in the world, the man who used to shower her with affection. She remembered the surprise flowers, the spontaneous dates, and the endless laughter they shared. But deep down, a seed of unease had been sown. She couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed between them, and she feared what the future might hold. The apologies became less frequent, the outbursts more intense. One night, John, fueled by anger, grabbed Sarah's arm roughly.
John, you're hurting me.
She winced, shocked by his violence.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
John pleaded, his voice thick with remorse. Sarah, shaken but desperate to believe him, forgave him, but the damage was done. The incident left an invisible scar, a crack in the foundation of their marriage. Fear, insidious and cold, began to creep into Sarah's heart. The violence escalated, a push here, a slap there. Each incident followed the same pattern. John's rage, the explosion, the remorse, the promises to change. Sarah found herself living in a constant state of fear. She walked on eggshells, terrified of saying or doing anything that might trigger his anger.
I can't go on like this.
The physical pain was one thing, but it was the emotional abuse that truly broke her. The constant belittling, the insults, the threats chipped away at her self-worth. Sarah felt trapped, suffocating under the weight of her secret shame. She withdrew from friends and family, ashamed of the reality of her marriage. Sarah's friends noticed the change in her. She was withdrawn, jumpy, her once bright eyes now clouded with sadness.
Sarah, is everything okay? You seem different lately.
They asked questions, but Sarah, bound by fear and shame, brushed off their concerns.
Oh, it's nothing. Just a lot on my plate right now.
She couldn't bring herself to tell them the truth. How could she admit what was happening? She was supposed to be strong, the woman who had it all. The guilt and self-blame was suffocating.
Maybe it is my fault. Maybe I did provoke him.
Sarah started to believe John's words, that she was the one to blame, that she provoked him. One night, John came home drunk. His steps were unsteady, his breath reeking of alcohol. The bottle in his hand was nearly empty, a testament to the night's excesses. He fumbled with the keys, finally managing to open the door and stagger inside. His words, slurred and laced with venom, cut through Sarah like knives. Each syllable was a dagger, each accusation a fresh wound. She had heard these words before, but tonight they seemed to carry an extra weight, a deeper malice.
You think I don't know? You think I'm blind to your deceit? You think I don't see what you're doing behind my back? His voice rose, each word dripping with suspicion and anger. The room seemed to shrink, the walls closing in as his rage filled the space.
He accused her of infidelity, his rage spiraling out of control. The accusations were baseless, but in his drunken state they felt like undeniable truths. His fury was a storm, relentless and unforgiving. He grabbed her, his grip bruising, his eyes blazing with fury. The pain shot through her arm, but it was the look in his eyes that truly terrified her. It was a look of pure, unadulterated rage.
John, please, you're hurting me. Her voice was a desperate plea, a cry for mercy that seemed to fall on deaf ears. The tears streamed down her face, each one a silent testament to her suffering.
Sarah cowered, her body trembling, fear paralyzing her. She had never felt so small, so powerless. The room seemed to spin, her vision blurring as the terror took hold. As John raised his hand to strike her, something inside Sarah snapped. It was as if a switch had been flipped. A long dormant part of her suddenly awakened. The fear that had held her captive for so long evaporated, replaced by a surge of raw primal instinct. Her eyes, once filled with terror, now burned with a fierce determination.
No more. I won't let you hurt me anymore. Her voice was steady, unwavering. It was a declaration, a line drawn in the sand. She had found her strength, and she would not be silenced.
In that moment, Sarah found a strength she never knew she had. It was a strength born of pain and fear, but it was hers. She stood tall, her resolve unshakable, ready to face whatever came next. Sarah knew she couldn't endure this any longer. The next morning, while John was at work, she made a call. Her voice trembled as she spoke, the words tumbling out in a torrent of pain and fear.
I can't do this anymore. I need help.
Her friend, her voice filled with concern and unwavering support, rushed to her side. For the first time, Sarah broke down, the weight of her secret crushing her. Her friend listened patiently, her eyes filled with compassion and understanding.
It's not your fault, she said gently, her words breaking through Sarah's self-blame.
Sarah's family and friends rallied around her, their love and support a lifeline in her darkest hours. They helped her find a new apartment, a safe haven where she could heal. Slowly, Sarah began to reclaim her life.
I can finally breathe again.
She returned to work, her confidence growing with each passing day. She reconnected with old friends, their laughter a reminder of the joy she had lost. The fear that had haunted her for so long began to fade, replaced by a quiet determination. Sarah was a survivor, and she refused to let John's abuse define her.
We're so proud of you, Sarah. You've come so far.
Years later, Sarah is thriving. The scars of her past remain, but they no longer define her. She is an advocate for victims of domestic violence, her voice a beacon of hope for others trapped in similar situations. Sarah's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It is a reminder that there is life after abuse, a life filled with love, hope, and the freedom to finally breathe.
There is hope.